480 BC, one of the largest armies in world history was marching westward. Cities were burning, kingdoms were kneeling, and every force standing in its path was being destroyed. At the head of this army stood the ruler of the Persian Empire, the great king Xerxes I. His goal was simple: to conquer Greece completely. Facing him were small Greek city-states with almost no chance of victory in terms of numbers. But one of these cities was different. For them, war was not a profession, it was a way of life. This was Sparta. In Sparta, a child's fate was decided at birth. If he was not strong, he would not live. Those who survived were taken from their families at a young age and placed into a brutal training system. They learned to endure hunger, reject fear, and accept death. Because for Spartans, the greatest shame was to flee from battle. Years earlier, the Persian king Darius I had attempted to invade Greece but was defeated at the Battle of Marathon. Now, avenging that defeat had fallen to his son. Xerxes gathered a massive army. Ancient historians wrote that it numbered in the hundreds of thousands: soldiers, archers, cavalry, and elite warriors. The Persian army was like a moving empire. The Greek city-states were terrified. Some even considered surrender because defeating such an army in open battle seemed impossible. But the Spartan king Leonidas I had a different plan. Leonidas knew battles were not always won by numbers, but by strategy. Instead of fighting in open plains, he chose to confront the Persians in a narrow pass. The place was called Thermopylae, meaning the hot gates, sea on one side, steep mountains on the other. Only a limited number of soldiers could fight at once. A massive army could lose its advantage there. Leonidas selected only 300 Spartans to accompany him. This was not random. Every chosen warrior had a living son, because the king knew they might never return. Around 7,000 Greek soldiers joined them, yet compared to the Persian army, they were almost nothing. When the Persian forces arrived at the pass, Xerxes was surprised. A tiny defensive line stood before him. He waited for days, believing the Greeks would flee in fear. But the Spartans did not retreat. According to legend, they calmly combed their hair before battle. Persian envoys were shocked by this sight because the Spartans did not fear death. Finally, the attack began. Persian soldiers charged wave after wave into the pass. But in the narrow terrain, Spartan heavy shields and long spears gave them a decisive advantage. Greek soldiers formed a shield wall, fighting in disciplined rotations. On the first day, the Persians suffered heavy losses. Enraged, Xerxes sent his elite force, the immortals, warriors believed to be unbeatable. Yet nothing changed. In the narrow pass, numerical superiority meant nothing. Persian assaults shattered against Spartan discipline. The second day passed the same way. One of the greatest armies in history had been stopped by only a few thousand warriors. But the fate of the battle was changed not by strength, but by betrayal. A local Greek named Ephialtes of Trachis revealed a hidden mountain path to the Persians. This path allowed them to move behind the Greek forces. Leonidas realized they would soon be surrounded. At that moment, he made one of history's most important decisions. He dismissed most of the Greek army because victory was no longer the goal. Buying time was. Those who remained accepted their fate. 300 Spartans, 700 Thespians, and a few hundred allies. They knew they would die. On the final day, the Spartans advanced beyond the pass and launched their last attack, determined to delay the Persians as long as possible. King Leonidas was killed in battle. His soldiers fought fiercely to protect his body. Spears broke, swords shattered. Eventually, the Spartans fought with their bare hands. One by one, they fell, but they never retreated. The Persians finally passed through the gate, but they had lost precious days. That delay changed the fate of Greece. Soon after, the Greek navy defeated the Persians at the Battle of Salamis. Then the Battle of Plataea ended the Persian invasion completely. At Thermopylae, the Spartans lost the battle, but Greece won the war. Later, a monument was built on the battlefield. On it were written the words, "Stranger, go tell the Spartans that we lie here obedient to their laws." The story of the 300 Spartans is not just a battle. It is a symbol of courage, discipline, sacrifice, and resistance against impossible odds. That is why, thousands of years later, this story is still told in books, legends, and especially through the film 300, which brought it back into modern culture. Because some stories never die. The 300 Spartans did not survive Thermopylae, but their names became immortal. And history reminds us of one truth. Sometimes the outcome of a war is not decided by who survives, but by who refuses to step back.